birds? We went to birds? Okay.
Yeah, chirp, motherfucker.
Yeah, sure. Crickets. Yeah, sure.
I do have a cricket in my house. It's,
Oh my God, dude.
So fucking annoying.
Terrible.
Oh my God. All right. Alrighty, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Vision Cast. Our guest today, the one, the only, the beast, Greg Gurenlian. Thank you very much for coming, brother.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks,
Pumped
Greg.
to have this.
Awesome. Also, a newly added athlete as well, part of the VMI team. So welcome aboard, my friend.
Thanks, man. No, this is awesome. This was an easy matchup.
Right.
Once I met you guys, Tom and Frank, it was easy.
Yeah. No, it's funny. So we'll get into Greg's background, but when we first met Greg, and so we go to meet at a restaurant. Greg was cool about where we were going to meet. I was super late because I had to drop one of our employees off. But
Par for the course.
Right. And so, but just the conversation Frank and Greg were having, and I dive right in. You could feel like, obviously a great dude, easy to talk to, and we had a lot to relate. So it was like, man, like this is going to be a great partnership. It's going to be a great relationship, right? Mm-hmm. Where you can associate, bounce things off each other. It's not a facade. It's not a business deal, right? Like, and so, we always talk about growing the family, growing the group, and having good people on our team. And that's why it's just a big message for us, because we don't have a huge team. We don't try to sign crazy athletes. We want to have good people that want to be on the team, and we want to support them back. And that relationship to me is like everything.
Oh yeah, I mean I have always been very particular about who I work with, because any brand that you bring on is an extension of yourself and your own brand.
100%.
And I think, you can go on Instagram, you'll have influencers, and I'll get DMs like, hey, we'll give you $1,000 to use our protein for a month. It's like, dude, that doesn't do anything for me. Like, I want to be part of something. I want to be part of a movement. I want to use stuff that I already like. Like, you guys sent me a bunch of stuff, and I was like, look, I'm going to try this for a month. And I loved it. So I was like, this is natural for me. Sure. I can totally, this is what I like to use, so I might as well. And, it's been a good...
That authentic, right, initiation, and you like the product, and we like you as a person, that authentic bond is what creates that relationship. And, like, I feel like that's what we try to do with products, is really give a customer, athlete, influencer, something really good where they can have their faith and trust in the product, and then we get that back from them, right?
Especially supplementation. You're putting this in your body.
Yeah,
and
100%.
I didn't get to where I am by just throwing anything off the shelf into my head.
Right.
Right away, my business partner with Faceoff Academy, Jerry, was like, because I told him about the white heat. I was like, dude. So he's like, what should I get? I was like, try some of the ready to drinks, and then try the white heat before you work out. And he texted me back, and it was just like, dude. I was like, I told you, man. But that's that is the stuff that sticks with supplementation. Is there's a million choices out there.
A million.
That have crazy. Proprietary blend with a bunch of crosses down them. And you have no idea what you're pouring into your head. But I train kids. Yeah. And for me, it's like I have to make sure that I'm looking out for them. Yeah. So if I talk to a kid who says, hey, coach, I have dark rage, and I took 4 scoops of it, and it's like, okay, great, man. Just don't have a pee test anytime soon. Make sure you're watching your vitals, because I don't know what the hell's going to happen to you. Yeah. Instead, I have stuff here that I know is going to be okay, and it's going to benefit them. So it's huge.
That is huge. One thing I wanted to get into, and I'm sure Nick has a couple of questions from the college athlete perspective, because you guys were both college athletes, but for me, your evolution, I want you to talk a little bit about kind of, you played lacrosse from the high school to the college to the professional level, and now you're on the coaching, conditioning, strength and conditioning. Give us a little bit of background kind of on your history, your journey, and how you got to here doing face-off.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that I'm where I'm at right now. I'm one of the few people who went to college and used their degree exactly the way they saw fit.
Nobody does.
Nobody does,
including me.
Nobody does.
Dude, it's crazy,
and it's fine, and it's interesting because when I went to Penn State, so I started playing freshman year of high school. I started playing lacrosse. I gave up baseball because lacrosse in Philly, and especially Springfield, Delaware County, was king. And I only did it because I wanted to make friends. I did it because I just wanted to be one of the cool kids. Yeah. And I wasn't allowed to play football growing up because I had Osgood-Slaughters in my knees, and my doctor was like, he cannot play football. His, his legs will be all screwed up. So I played soccer. I wrestled, I did karate, I played baseball, I did basketball, I did everything but hockey and football. And my freshman year of high school, I went to my dad. I was like, dude, Dad, please. I was like, all the cool kids are playing this. I don't want to stand out in 90-degree weather in pants anymore during the summer. No offense.
Oh my god.
And, and I was like, I want to hit somebody, please.
Yeah.
So my dad went to our doctor. He said he wants to play lacrosse. Now, I lucked out because our family doctor knew he had his niece played women's lacrosse, girls lacrosse. He had no idea the rules were different. He signed off on it. He's like, yeah, you can play lacrosse.
Oh, yes.
Oh, wow.
So my dad shows up to the meeting.
Slid one by him.
And they're going, okay, you need helmets, you need gloves, you need. And my dad's like,
He's like, helmet?
and now the only lacrosse we've seen, for people who don't know at home, there's an indoor lacrosse and an outdoor lacrosse. They're completely different sports. Indoor
Seriously?
lacrosse, yeah. So the
Wow, my mind is blown.
yeah, there's
Go ahead.
box. Box lacrosse, if you ask any Canadian, is just as popular as hockey is. And they all play both. They play indoor and they play hockey. And indoor lacrosse is hockey on feet. That's all it is. It's looks exactly the same,
No
just
way.
hockey on feet, and they're catching a ball instead of using a stick on the floor.
Yeah.
And the American version is outdoor lacrosse. And we used to go to Philadelphia Wings games. So there's National Lacrosse League, which is indoor. And that's a lot of Canadian teams, a lot of USA teams, franchise-based leagues, been around since the 80s. And then that's the only lacrosse we'd seen. And we were like, it's indoor lacrosse, totally different.
Sure.
Like, whatever. Girls lacrosse is girls lacrosse where there's no hitting. And then men's outdoor lacrosse looks like, more like a hybrid of basketball and rugby.
That's a great description. This is so.
Yeah, so
I'm
you have-
blown. I didn't know that it was even more
so
than
you
one
had
version.
the outdoor pro lacrosse league for a long time was Major League Lacrosse. Now it's known as the PLL, Premier Lacrosse League, and you had the indoor league. So my dad's sitting here at the meeting going, okay, he wants to play lacrosse. He's got a helmet and gloves, whatever. And they're like, and rib pads and shoulder pads. And my dad's like, what is all this shit for? and I'm like, don't worry about it, Dad. So we go to play.
It's just protection.
Yeah, we go to Play It Again Sports. He's like, all right, we're going to try this sport. Play It Again Sports, try a whole bunch of stuff on. Walk up there the first time and suck.
Yeah.
Because you can't fake lacrosse, man. Like, you can be 6'10" and be a decent basketball player. You can be a freak athlete and get away with football. You cannot do it with lacrosse because you can only play lacrosse if you can catch and throw the ball.
It's literally like baseball in that respect. I
Yeah,
think.
like if you baseball, you have no hand-eye coordination, but you're a
fuck.
freak athlete. It doesn't matter.
Right, screwed.
Yeah. So
I'm super strong, and you
Lacrosse,
can't hit.
That's so like lacrosse. The first day, everybody else, like in Long Island, Philly, Maryland, it's all the same. The kids are born 6 years old. They start playing lacrosse. So I am years behind these guys, and they're catching and throwing, and they're throwing the ball around, and they're making fun of me because I suck. And I'm sitting here going, whatever, man. I got a helmet on for the first time. I'm going to hit
You're
somebody.
just jacked
I don't
up,
give a
yeah.
shit. So
Somebody's getting wrecked.
I can't. Nobody wants to be in my drills because I can't catch and throw. But every time the ball's on the ground, I'm just trying to earhole people.
Love it.
And so I start getting this nickname because when I was in high school, I was really skinny because I was still wrestling. So I was trying to make weight when I got to high school. And I'm trying to hit people. The older guys are yelling beast like when they're watching the JV games. And my best friend George he started calling me Greg Beast, and it was a joke because I sucked at lacrosse and I was just trying to hit everybody.
Yeah.
The name stuck, and then I continued. I remember after my freshman year, I was actually going to quit because I was like, dude, I haven't quit anything. This is impossible.
Yeah.
And I'm so far behind. I'm getting made fun of every freaking day. People are telling me I'm wasting my time.
This is how Nick feels at work.
Quite
I'm sorry.
literally.
Go ahead. Sorry. It's wide open.
No, it's so. I
do love doing
I
this
planned
podcast.
on going to the last practice of the year and telling my coaches, "Thank you for everything, but I gotta hang it up." Completely unprompted. I don't know if he had a feeling or not, but one of our assistants, Rick Johnson, during the last practice, puts his arm around me out of nowhere and he just goes, "Man, I know this first year was tough, but I swear to God for you, if you stick with this sport, you're gonna light the world on fire." And I remember getting in the car with my parents, and I'm like, "Oh, I can't let this guy." Like, this guy had no reason to tell me that.
He just gave you a lift, and you can't let him down.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh shit, I can't let this guy down." So I was like, "You know what? Screw it. I'm going to practice this sport as hard as I can out of spite for all the guys who made fun of me, and I'm just going to start over them."
Love it.
So I was the weird kid in high school who showed up to parties with my lacrosse stick. I was playing wall ball every day.
Yeah.
Every day. Next thing I know, fast forward, sophomore year, I make varsity. My junior year, I'm on the varsity team, and I have a knack for faceoffs. I just tried it one time, and one of our coaches took the time to show me how to do it a little bit better. And our starter got hurt like the third game of the season. So I went in as a junior and just blew the doors off it. Wow. Next thing I know, I'm going to tournaments And then I'm getting recruited, and all of a sudden that Penn State letter comes in. Now, my whole family went to Penn State.
Wow.
So my dad's whole side of the family, cousins, aunts, uncles, all went to Penn State. I grew up, I could tell you every Penn State quarterback from the time I was 6.
Wow.
And I get a Penn State letter. I'm like, I know nothing about Penn State lacrosse, but holy shit, this is my ticket to go to Penn State. Literally overnight, my dad's like, you need a new stick. New cleats.
Yeah, now we're on the train.
Now it's an investment.
Yeah.
And
how great is that?
yeah, I went on a bunch of recruiting visits and committed to Penn State. And like that never would have happened if Rick Johnson never put his arm around me and said that.
That's amazing.
I would have been done playing lacrosse.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that's how I got to Penn State. I played there, got my degree in kinesiology. I wanted to get my master's in human performance. And so after I graduated, he immediately, Brad Pantal, who was my mentor, he was the strength coach at Penn State, he took over men's women's basketball. So he told me, you can be my assistant. I'll get you a job as, the grad assistant, and we'll get you through, get you a master's. And during alumni weekend, one of my buddies who took kines there, he graduated a year before me, Derek Howells, he came and he's like, I started working at this gym in New York City. He's like, we're totally overqualified if you're a Penn State grad with kines. You should come out here and check it out and do the private sector before you decide you want to live in the center of Pennsylvania for 4 years. I was like, all right, screw it. I came to New York. I did my interview and I got the job. So within 48 hours, I decided I'm going to move my life to New York City.
Wow.
Went Craigslist, rented a random house, a random room in an apartment.
No way.
Some random old guy.
No.
Art, thanks a lot for letting me rent that room. At the time, my then girlfriend, I just met her. She convinced me it was the right decision. And I went to New York City with that degree, and I got drafted into Major League Lacrosse. So on weekends, I was traveling up to Rochester, driving all the way up there. And then during the week, I'd come back down and I would work at the gym. And you know how it is. You go to New York City, you're grinding, working. I'm going on that one train and I'm falling asleep in the morning because I'm getting to work at 5 in the morning. I'm coming back home at 9. I have no life, no friends, eating out of a peanut butter jar. And then you just start to build a book of clients. Yeah. And my lacrosse career was doing all right, and I was building a strength training business, and I had a great book of clients. Yeah. Bounced around for a couple of teams. And this is where lacrosse is interesting. The face-off position, when I got to the professional league, I became a face-off specialist. So I doubt people who are listening to this podcast don't know, because I'm sure you have plenty of Long Islanders on here.
Yeah, so it's such a big sport.
So face-offs you have a specialist who fights for the ball after every goal, and that's my only job. So I play about 15 to 20 seconds at a time, 30 times a game, and if I get us the ball, I run off the field and I wait for the next face-off. And it's a very lonely position because nobody understands what the hell we're doing.
Yeah.
But I just had a knack for it. And then in 2011, I blew my knee out playing for the Lizards out in Long Island. And that was the first time in my life I was sitting there all summer. I remember Women's World Cup's on, my legs in a CPM machine. And I'm sitting there like, fuck, like I gave everything I have to everything I've ever done. But for whatever reason, I was so focused on building a strength training business that once I got out of college, I kind of just like stopped focusing on improving at face-offs. And I just did it on the weekends to get an extra paycheck. And I felt so guilty about that because I was like, I have a talent and I'm wasting it. And now that I can't play, I feel it for the first time.
Yeah.
So what I did was I took biomechanics and I applied it to the face-off position. And back then, no one was really teaching face-offs. Some guys would like put videos out there to teach you how to cheat on face-offs, but no one was teaching like proper technique. So I applied the biomechanics to, the consistency of the face-off position. The ball's always in the same spot. You're always lining up the same way. So I implemented this system, and then my friends decided, let's teach face-off clinics during the summer. It'll be fun. We'll do like 6 stops and we'll call it a day. So we did a series of clinics, and every kid we were working with using this system started kicking ass. Wow. And then myself, I came back the year after I blew my knee out, and I had a career year. And then I started to refine it, and every year I got better. And every kid we coached, all of a sudden now they're going to college, and we were like, holy shit.
It works.
This is way more fun than, training one person at a time for 14 hours a day. Sure. So eventually it was called Brawlic Strength. I sold Brawlic, and the Face Off Academy became my full-time gig. And in 2015, I was the first faceoff guy to ever win league MVP in Major League Lacrosse. I broke every single faceoff record.
That's awesome.
We won a championship, and then I played for Team USA for about 10 years. Went to 2 World Games, and then I retired in 2017 from the MLL, and I focused on the World Games in 2018. And then I came back. My friend Paul Rabel started the Premier Lacrosse League, and there was a huge exodus of players to that league. And they talked me into coming back for 1 year in that league. So then I retired in 2019. And, that's my whole career in a nutshell. But it's funny because I use strength and conditioning as not only to stay in shape and be good at what I did as an athlete, but I applied the biomechanics and the science of it to change a training realm that didn't really exist before.
It's almost like you invented a way to focus on that position and training that position.
Yeah. Using
your skill set.
Yeah. That's kind of like, I don't know if anybody's seen this guy Alex runs Landmine University. It's a phenomenal training. Yeah. It's awesome. So that's why I get along with him so well, because he did what I did with faceoffs. Is he took a thing that already existed and he created a proprietary system to help people advance in a quick way. And that's what we did with faceoffs. Awesome. Now, to this day, it's all I do is the Face-Off Academy.
Shit.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it scratches my itch because, between the strength training, there's no duplication to playing. The adrenaline, people ask me all the time, what do you miss about playing? And it's like, dude, I miss the hard stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I miss the moment, like, your lungs are on fire, your team's on a comeback, it's fourth quarter, and you're walking out there for the face-off, and your coach just grabs, like, we need this one. And you're exhausted, you're bloody, but you look across, and you're just like, you're looking at the other face-off guy, and you're like, I'm going to beat you right in front of your family, and we're going to win this. Like, that's the stuff I miss the most, is the grind. And I feel like I train harder now than I did when I played, because I'm trying so hard to duplicate that feeling.
Dude, I get that. So the funny thing is that my family tells me all the time, because I didn't get into strength and conditioning and let's call it like bodybuilding type training and really take care of my nutrition and my body as well as I did like when I played college ball. And my family tells me all the time, like, dude, like if you actually gave a shit about like what you ate and trained, then you'd be 100% playing pro. I think that's biased, but anyway,
it's definitely biased. But.
Yeah, but like it's just one of those things that you like. That's my one thing that I wish I could go back in time, is that I got into weight training, but I didn't really break it down in the science and how the body works and really synergistically take your diet and training in one. It was more of, let me just go into the gym and let's see how much I can curl today.
Yeah,
that's pretty much.
But you know what though? At that point in your life, you considered that training for what you were doing. Yeah. And that's why we always laugh, because knowledge is power, but experience is knowledge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Like, you only gain the knowledge from the experience. And
you can read it, but you got to do it.
Yeah. And like, that's 100%. What we deal with as a coaches is I'm sitting here going, dude, there's nothing you can think of I haven't seen. There's nothing that you could do that I haven't done. Yeah. Just freaking do it this way so you can go be as great as you can. And you're like, I don't know about it. And you're like, oh,
I'm going to try it this way.
Yeah. And that's the way it goes.
It's tough. I feel like people, especially athletes, right? Like you don't realize what you could have done or could have. Hindsight's 20/20. I could have done this if I trained differently, if I ate differently. Like, you don't really know, right? Like, one of my biggest regrets in life is not playing college sports. And I had the opportunity to play baseball and my first year of college, but terrible first semester. I just wasn't taking college seriously. I was just working and hanging out, and I didn't do enough of the right things. And the coach was like, "Hey man, like you're below average. I can't even let you play this season." Like, and then I sort of said, "Okay, this wasn't meant to be, but I have to channel this because I miss playing sports, and I love working out. I love exercising, but like I'm gonna have to channel this, or I'm gonna have a problem."
Yeah.
And so I found bodybuilding, and it was like just such a huge passion. But I realized over time that it wasn't that I loved bodybuilding. It was that I had to channel my energy and my passion for physical performance, physical activity, into something.
Yeah.
And that was what it was at the time. And years later, when I get out of that and I realize, my passion is trying to channel that energy into helping people, and I get into the supplement side, and I look back and I'm like, man, like I'm actually now so glad I didn't play, because even though I regret not taking that opportunity to play that first year, I ended up channeling my passion into a good way that I'm really good at, that helps people.
Yeah, and you may not have learned that lesson.
I definitely would not have.
Generally, life works out the way it's supposed to work out.
Right, yes.
Like, and you can only say that once you've experienced it. Like, a 16-year-old kid trying to get to play at Duke doesn't want to hear this shit.
Yeah.
But
Shut up, dude, I want to play.
But it works out the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, like I met my wife at Penn State, and I remember meeting her when I was working there as strength coach, and I'm sitting there like, what do you do all day? She's like, no, you just go to class and you hang out with your friends. I'm like, I don't even know what that's like, because I played sports, you know.
Yeah.
And they call you a student athlete in Division I, but you're an athlete.
You're an athlete,
and you got to figure out how to be a student. Yeah. And for as far as they're concerned, it's make sure you're a student enough to be eligible.
Right.
So, you know,
what are your grades? Are you eligible?
Yeah, and if you played college ball, you may not have had the time or have learned that lesson.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't be having this conversation. We wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because the whole thing, life just happens to work out the way it should. Yeah. So again, the way I look back at it, as if I didn't, so my freshman year I tore my triceps. I got PRP injections. That shit didn't work. Then my sophomore season I came back. I had my first save appearance, is what you call it at the end of the game, baseball, whatever. So I strike out the side, and then after I strike the guy out, I just feel like a pop in my arm.
No.
I'm like, you gotta be. It was fall ball too, so it didn't even fucking count, which was the worst part. So then I'm hopping off the field, like wobbling, and my arm's not going straight. And I'm just like, I call my dad. I'm crying. I'm like, it's over. Like, I'm done. And he's like, you're gonna be fine. Long story short, I got Tommy John. But fast forward, I really started getting into the gym, and my experience in college ball wasn't as, let's call it, fruitful as yours. And I didn't have such a good time either. It became a job. And once you stop having fun, that's when I'm like, I gotta step away.
Yeah.
But I really got into weightlifting and supplements. And like you said, it kind of just works out. So like the way I see it is, if I had a grand old time and I broke all these records and I was striking out left and right, I wouldn't be working for VMI. I'd probably be playing for the Long Island Ducks right now, trying to get by. Yeah. So it's kind of like,
we might have sponsored you. I don't know.
Yeah, you know, but it's funny how things really do work out. And there's obviously a longer, you know,
of
part
course,
of that
and
story.
It requires a mindset.
Exactly.
It requires a mindset of, you know, channeling that, like you said, Tom, or just overcoming. You know, if you had asked me in 2012, what's the worst thing that ever happened to me, I would have told you when I blew my knee out.
Yeah.
If you asked me what's the best thing that ever happened to me in 2022, I'd tell you I blew my knee out. Because if I didn't blow my knee out, I wouldn't have sat back and then wrote this programming, and I would not, the Face-Off Academy wouldn't exist, and who knows how many kids wouldn't be playing in college.
Yeah.
So it was totally worth it, you know, and I learned that lesson.
Yeah, Tom really does have a very funny way of just kind of like, in the moment, you're like, this fucking blows. Yeah. 5-10 years later, like, oh shit. Well, if I didn't, then
perspective. You have to look at where you're at and not just say, man, this sucks right now, or this is great right now. What's the big picture? Where am I going with it? Yeah. And then hopefully you stay on that path. You have some sort of commitment and discipline to stay on that path, and the path will get you where you're supposed to go if you put the work in.
At that time, though, like I'm saying, perspective-wise, it's kind of like in that moment, you're like,
dude, I couldn't play I could have played baseball easily my first year, and they would have even given me a partial scholarship if I made the team, and because I already had an academic one, which was good, right? But like, I missed that, and I felt like a loser. Like, if I wasn't already a loser by having poor grades, I'm like, now I'm not going to get to play, and I thought I could play, and I thought this would be a cakewalk, and it's a D2 school, not a big deal. But like, now I got to tell my family I'm not going to play. I'm going to act like it's not a big deal. That stuff sucks.
Did you really want to play though?
In the worst way.
Yeah.
Like, and I remember having the mentality for a while after that, even after I got into bodybuilding, like, I would tell people, you know, and I've been a workaholic forever. I don't know why. It's parenting my dad. I don't know. But like, you either have work ethic or you don't. But I remember telling people all the time, if I could just go back, like, I loved playing baseball. So I love playing baseball more than I like watching it. I would tell people for years, if I could just be a minor league baseball player making pennies, I'd be happy. No, I wouldn't say that today. Yeah. And not because I don't love baseball. I do. But that's not my life's calling. That's not my mission. That's not my passion. So it's hard to have that perspective till you have the experience.
100%.
So you get the experience, and then it's like, whoa, thank God that happened, you know? And so everyone's got to take that road
Yeah.
and not freak out too much, good or bad, on the road. Just stay the road.
Well, and that's where, like, me as a father, I sit there and I go, I have to teach my kid how to lose.
It's so
I
important.
have to teach my kid how to fail.
So important.
If your first dream is playing college ball and you fail at it and you've never been equipped to deal with that failure,
Crushing.
It's like impossible to get back up.
Yeah.
But either you need a support system that'll say the right things at the exact right times to get you to where you need to be, or you have to have an experienced failure at some point so you know how to deal with it. Now, the problem is most kids, they're extremely talented and they're just the faster ones and they always have success in sports. They get to college and they've never dealt with that before because they're just
now
studs.
Everybody's fast. And so I think a lot of this is as athletes for you guys, right, at that level, but especially you, but like it really parenting and like how you grew up and what you experienced. Like you almost should be forced into failure to learn how to adapt to it.
Yeah.
And I think today that's not happening.
I agree.
Which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's easy because I realized it with my first son, how quickly we go from, oh, you beat me. Oh, good job. Oh, you're so good. You're so good. You're so good. All of a sudden, it's like, now you're acting like a bitch. Like, now you're being a dickhead. And I remember I was playing horse with him in the backyard. He had this little basketball net, and Jax was kind of freakishly good at basketball. And we would play around the world. And, I always let him win. And I remember one time he goes, Daddy, you really got to get better at basketball because I beat you every time.
And you smoked him, didn't you?
And I go, you want to play one more? And he goes, yeah. And I go, boom, 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 boom. And I make them all, and I look at him, and then, nope, here it comes, the tears.
Yeah.
And then he just started bawling. I'm like, and that's where we have to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you're not going to be better than everybody else, and you should focus less on how good you are, and you should focus more on what you can do better.
Yeah.
And if you're happy where you are, that's great. But you should never compare yourself to somebody else. Like,
you got to be the best you can be.
Yeah, like don't tell me I need to practice. Like that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna have friends that way. So my wife and I were like, we're gonna stop letting them win all this shit.
Yeah.
Like, we'll let them win sometimes, but we're not gonna let them win every time.
I'm the same way with my daughter, man. I'm telling you, like, she picks up on stuff quick, and it's different with girls. We play sports, we'll play basketball, but like I make it a point. I don't care if we're playing Connect Four or basketball or we're racing up the stairs at night. I'm gonna beat her sometimes.
Yeah.
Like she's gonna know, like, and not as we gotta keep tabs or like no. She's got to be on her toes in life. That you will not always win. You have to accept it, understand it, and take the good out of it.
100%.
And I think it's so important to teach people that. And I feel like that gets missed with kids today, especially athletes. Like, I hate to say they're coddled, but like you could be talented, but like they'd be so much better off if it was a little harder and a little bit more.
Or if everybody around them stopped pumping their tires all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like look, like for me, my wife laughs. I'm the least competitive person you've ever met. Like, if we're playing in a lacrosse game, I want to crush you. But I will also joke with you during the commercial breaks, shake your hand. Yeah. And if we go back home and play darts, I don't give a shit if I win. I just want to compete with you and be around somebody and have fun. Yeah. I love playing games. Yeah. And my thing with my kids, and Jax is, it all depends on the type of kid you have. Like, Jackson is somebody who he lives his life for praise. And he lives his life to do things the right way all the time. And that is a lot of pressure for a 5-year-old to put on himself.
Ton. My wife and I were just talking about this.
Yeah. So
the
like
kids
for me,
that get the pressure put on them to perform or behave or whatever, that's tough at a young age, man. Like, they're not emotionally equipped for that.
No, they're not.
So
and
they
that's
should learn
why
failure,
you have to,
but not pressure.
Exactly. And like what you want to do is, like, at least for me, is my goal is to make sure he understands what the goal is. The goal is to have fun.
Yeah.
It's a game. It's called a game for a reason. So he'll come back from soccer. He'll be like, Daddy, I scored 4 goals. Great. Well, did you have fun? Yeah. Did you meet any of your teammates? Mm-hmm. Like, I want to know that stuff. I don't care how many goals you scored. Yeah. I don't care if you won. I don't care. I just want to know you're having a good time because, I mean, and at least in this country, sports are getting too serious too soon every year. Yeah. It's getting worse. Yeah. So I want you to have a good time. I want you to be a kid as long as possible.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Wouldn't you say, though, at least, and maybe I'm in the minority here, and maybe it's a baseball thing, or maybe it's just how my dad brought me up.
Probably all three, but
your dad's leaning in right now.
Yeah, no. So I mean,
say it.
No, I say it. No, I think there's a time and place for being ultra competitive. And again, like you said, it's a game and you want to have fun. I think the way I was raised was I was kind of like, all right, we started getting into this and it was fun. All right, you're good. All right, you're getting really good. Now you're going to be a collegiate athlete. All right, now you have to look at least from that level. Like we said before, I think when it comes to collegiate athletics, not a lot of people really get like 2% of the population plays college sports. JUCO, D1, D2, D3, like 2%.
Yeah.
That is very low.
And like 5% of that is a starter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think
and 1% of the starters goes pro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Less than that.
Yeah.
But what happens at that level, and at least what happened to me, was I stopped having fun.
Yep.
And it hurt, like it genuinely hurts me and aches me every time I talk about it, because I grew up. I love watching games with my dad. I love going to games, and I love watching my little cousins play, and it's awesome. But what pains me is like if you were like, Nick, we want you like a low level, like, you know, semi-pro team wants you to come and hit. Hell no.
Yeah.
It became such a job for me in college after coming back from injury. And then I had 2 actually really good seasons. And then I got offers to play like some semi-pro ball. I was like,
it wasn't fun anymore.
once it's not fun, walk away, bro. Yeah. Because then it's become a job, and then you become resentful. Then you're going to hate it. That's why I fucking love softball, because I could just hit dingers and have fun. And I have fun, though.
Yeah. My only regret in my so here's the tough thing as a retired lacrosse player or athlete is I regret the fact that throughout my career, once lacrosse became like after I decided I was going to play lacrosse, and I had that discussion with my coach and I came back, I had like a vendetta. And like for me, I took it ultra serious all the time. I want to win a state championship. And then we lost. So now, okay, I want to get to college and win a national championship. Dude, look, you played for Penn State in 2005. You're not winning a national championship.
You weren't there yet.
But, but I trained and I focused and I watched film as if I'm trying to will us to a national championship. Didn't have fun. I only have a couple friends from college that I played with that I still keep in touch with.
Same.
I didn't take the time to create relationships.
Dude. Yeah.
And then when I was in the pros, it was even worse.
Even less, yeah.
One, I played for Penn State, so I didn't play for like a Duke or Syracuse or Virginia. So I didn't really have a lot of guys I had something in common with. Yeah. So on top of it, I was a face-off weirdo. And then on top of that, I was putting myself out there. I mean, imagine, right, like you're trying to suit up to play a sport, right? So say you're LeBron James. And as LeBron, the NBA, you get paid $100,000 a year. You don't get paid millions of dollars. So LeBron and all these other basketball players are also creating clinic businesses to leverage the fact they're pros and say, come to my clinic because I can teach you the best.
Sure.
Well, now you're under a serious microscope because anytime you don't go out there and drop a triple-double, Andre Iguodala, who's teaching, doing his own clinic, is on Instagram going, "Oh, why would you go to LeBron James?
Your clinic loses credibility if you don't perform."
Yeah, so once the FOA became my only way of living, and I sold Brolic, that was just a huge catalyst to it getting even more serious for me, and I became completely obsessed with my performance on the field. I didn't take the time to really. I mean, I played with so many great guys. I never went out and had some beers with them. I was focused on working and I was focused on playing. And I remember a couple of my teammates in 2015 when I was having, my MVP year, we went to Denver and I went 30 for 35 on faceoffs, and which is ridiculous. So I'm sitting at the airport and they're looking over like, "What are you doing?" And I'm taking notes on the 5 faceoffs I lost. I'm like, "Dude, you're sick in the head." And I would play my game in Long Island at Hofstra. I would come home. I would go out with the team for a little bit, come back to my apartment. I would watch the entire game over, and I would write notes down on every face-off I took. Not whether I won or lost it, but did I win it the best possible way?
Sure, improvement.
When I lost, why? Where should my wings have been? I'd write 2 to 3 pages of notes. I'd watch the whole game, and at 4 in the morning, I'd be done, and I'd throw the notes out. And I would, because now it's in my head.
Now flush it out.
And I'd go to sleep.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I would do that every game. Now I was getting paid. The year I won the MVP, I was getting paid $12,000 that whole season.
Wow.
So when I look back on it, I go, man, all those years of playing, I don't have a ton of very close friends in lacrosse, which is nuts because I played on so many teams around so many people. But I was so obsessed, and that's my regret, is I didn't have any fun. I could tell people, honestly, almost my entirety of my professional lacrosse career, I didn't have a good time. Mm-hmm. But I'm not completely upset about it because there's no way, I know myself, there's no way I could have done what I did if I was any other way.
Exactly.
You know, my personal opinion, and I think everybody looks at it differently based on athletics aside, what their thing is in life. But I look at it like that with what we do here in work, right? You make relationships and have fun. These are the messages people. I'm not against that. I just don't focus on that. To me, I want to win, and I want to win so bad that it's not a game. It's work, but I want to win. And so, you know, whatever that looks like for every person, like, you know, are you stressed? Did you have fun? Was this difficult? Did you make it harder than it could have been because you were so obsessed with that one thing you needed to fix or improve or come out with a new flavor? Yeah, no, I didn't have any fun with it.
Yeah.
But we won.
Yeah, we won.
And here's the thing.
And that makes me smile.
What I've learned through taking a lot of lumps, and probably more career lumps I've taken doing VMI than in my whole career before that, because we started as a startup. And I had always worked at larger companies before that. But, you know, to me, you take the lumps and the failures as a learning lesson. Not everybody has the will to keep going. And as athletes, you guys, like, you know, that's what it takes, like, to keep going and getting better and improving and obsessing. And unfortunately, not having fun sometimes. And I think it's so important for kids, little kids, to have fun with it, and because they're not emotionally ready. The opposite is true, in my opinion, when you're an adult. Like, you know what? There's a lot of days I don't have fun here. But when we win, everybody's happy. And then I'm good. We delivered a great product. We sold a ton. Everyone's having fun. Everybody likes to win. But to win, somebody's got to be really fucking obsessed and really willing to go the extra mile. And if you're not only are you going to lose, no one on your team's going to win. Someone's got to drag everybody. Someone's got to get in the bus and say, I'm going to fucking stay awake all night and I'm going to drive us there. I don't care if it's a sport, a business, whatever. And for me, I'll drive until the wheels fall off. Like, I don't care, because I'm not about having fun. I'm about winning. Winning's fun for everybody. We got to win first. And that takes everything you have. And I think that message for me, looking at your career and your path, dude, you're at where you're at with this academy and this notoriety and getting all these college athletes and wannabe college athletes to come to your academy because you were obsessed for so long. You had no fun for a long time, and now you're having fun helping other kids have fun. But, like, it's that path to get there, right? And
I also think it depends on where you are on the trip, right?
That's
like,
true.
The beginning of anything is the fight.
Brutal.
You have to climb the mountain. Once you get there and you have established, like, so for people who wonder, like, what does the Face-Off Academy, like, so the Face-Off Academy started with me and two friends, Chris and Jerry. Chris Mattis is actually director of player personnel for the Patriots now.
No way.
Yeah, his best friend is Belichick's son, and they were roommates at Rutgers. And after a couple years,
don't tell my old man this. He's a huge Jet fan.
After a couple years, we bought Chris out, and he went to New England, and he actually lived with Belichick's son for a little bit.
Wow.
And now he's married. He's living the dream.
Wow.
So Jerry and I
That's awesome.
started this thing. And like I said, the kids we were training were getting really good. Trevor Baptiste is one of the guys that we train, and Trevor came from New Jersey, and initially he was going to go to Franklin and Marshall to play lacrosse and be a face-off guy, but he got so much better so fast that we called Denver, and because he was like, I think I can play D1. Goes to Denver, plays for Bill Tierney, who's one of the greatest coaches in the history of lacrosse, and not only does he do well, but he's a 4-time first-team All-American. He breaks every face-off record in college, wins a national championship his first year, and then he goes on, and he was actually my teammate when he graduated on Team USA, so he's like 12 or 13 years younger than me.
Wow.
We were the two face-off guys in 2018 winning a gold medal together. He works for us now, and he just won MVP in the PLL, so we're the only two face-off guys.
Animal.
Yeah, we're the only two face-off guys to ever win league MVP, and it's just amazing that he was the other guy. I'm so happy about that. But that started happening. So our rule is we only hire guys that we've coached. So we have 25 coaches all together now in the FOA, and we're national. We go from East Coast to West Coast. But it's all guys that we have actually coached or played with, because there's a couple other guys. Like Chris Eck was my 2014 USA teammate, and he works for us in the Northern California. So, like, it's cool because it's a huge family. And it would be like if you had a business and you only hired your kids. Right? Like, so it's awesome. But the beauty of that is over time, now that I have this team, and you know this as an owner, like people are like, you got to stop micromanaging. You're like,
Yeah.
but I got to make sure it's done right, you know? And finally, when you take that jump, I'm giving my guys more authority to make decisions, and they're doing a great job. And what I'm trying to learn now that I have 2 kids, because I have a 1-year-old and almost a 6-year-old now, is I'm done playing lacrosse. I have all these different projects I'm working on, but I have found a combination of what you said and what, you know, some people would say as you're coasting or not working hard is just be where your feet are, right? So I tell my kids this, you know, you got 7th graders coming out of school, and after school they're expected to come face off for an hour, and their parents are like, you got to make sure you're paying attention. And I'm like, look, guys, when you're in school, you do everything you can to be good at school. When you're here for this hour, do everything you can to learn as much as I can teach you in an hour. And then don't worry about it after that. Just be where your feet are. So like for me, I don't want to be at work when I'm with my family. That's what I've been trying to. Because for years that wasn't an issue, right?
Yeah.
You play a game, I could sit there like a psychopath till 4 a.m. watching game film.
Yeah.
Now if I do that, my kids don't give a shit if I only got 2 hours of sleep. It's daddy time at 6:30 in the morning.
Yes.
And you have to be daddy, because it takes one day of not being a good dad to screw these kids up forever.
So true.
So be where your feet are, but you have to earn that, right? You have to get to that point. And once you're comfortable in people kind of taking away some of your burden because you trust them, that's when you can do that, right?
Yeah. I think it's such an important thing as a parent and as a leader and even a teammate for your team and who the people you have on your team. Nick's probably one of the first people we've ever hired where I feel that way a little bit. I can let go of the wheel at some point because I have to go do something or I'm traveling. And, you know, Frank and I have done a lot of the heavy lifting because we try to stay very hands-on. In a lot of ways, that's good. In a lot of ways, it's not. Mm-hmm. And Nick's done a great job about being one of those people we brought in that can handle the pressure, take the load we feel good about. And I think that allows you to grow your business, but also allows me to take my hand off the wheel and go home to the family.
Yes.
Which for a long time, even after my daughter was born, I didn't do. And we've talked about this on other episodes, but like life regrets. Like I traveled 6 or 7 days after my daughter was born for a board meeting that I'm mad that I went to. But like at the time, got to provide, you know. And so you could be so obsessed, but you get to a point where you have to make good decisions and be where your feet are. At home with my family. Like I'm going to be home tonight for dinner because I haven't been all week. Yeah. It's important.
Yeah. And when you're there, be like, that's what my wife always says. When you're here, be here.
Yeah.
You know, that we were just talking before the podcast about the do not disturb on your phone.
Oh my God.
I have learned to use that thing and I do not break that rule. Like it's,
we talked about this. It's so important.
Yeah.
I got to get better at that, but I think it's important. That's a great message.
Yeah.
Totally.
So I think one of the last question that I have, and we spoke about this a little bit because I don't want to, I mean, we talk work ethic and this and that, but I want to get into the business part. So when I was, let's call it growing up and getting into trying to play college ball and things like that, I had a couple offers here and there, and I was telling him is that it was just from, you know, lower level university. I was like, no, I can do better than this. And then I spoke to one coach, and he's like, well, did you send any tapes out? Like, what's, you know, it's kind of like that guy on the side of the road who's sending out mixtapes and shit.
Yeah.
Like I would send, you know, highlights I sent Villanova to Hofstra, St. John's, Texas, all these schools that I had no business sending shit to. High Point University, I really wanted to go to.
High Point is like a country club, man.
Yeah. But our starting shortstop at the time, like he got a full ride there. So I was just like, I'm going to play with him. Like I just looked up to this guy. I was like, I'm going there. Obviously didn't go there. But they sent me a letter. The only school that actually sent me a letter back that said, hey, thank you so much. We actually really like see the effort there. We appreciate it. But like essentially thanks, but no thanks.
Which is nice though.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. It was the only school that did that.
The fact they took the time to do that is unbelievable.
Exactly. Yeah. St. John's didn't do shit for me. But anyway. You know, I'm curious as to what is the process for these kids today. So I would send out highlights, make phone calls, like send emails. Hi, my name's Nick Karolakis. I'm a third baseman and catcher, this and that. I won this, did that.
Did you do a recording of yourself in that voice?
Dude, like I would say, no, like I had a little DVD, like the Blu-rays, when it was not a DVD, but a Blu-ray. Yeah. I would send it out. And it was like, I gave my name.
Blu-rays were like a thing for like 10 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah. But it was like that time.
Okay, sure.
But name, positions, like schools.
That
I'd
was
like
his.
to go
That
to.
was his problem.
Yeah.
He was sending out Blu-rays,
Fucking
and
Blu-rays.
no one had a Blu-ray
Yeah.
player.
Nobody had a
That
fucking.
was it.
I
You're
didn't
like,
have
man,
one.
I
That's
bet
what I'm
this
saying,
kid's
they were-
awesome, but I
They
can't
came
watch
out,
it.
and right around the time I was ready to buy a Blu-ray player, Blu-rays were gone. I think we had moved to like USBs or
It was
something.
like a little thing. It was
Yeah.
like but like you
People would get them and go, "What the fuck is
this
this?
fucking
It's a
Blu-ray.
small DVD.
This idiot from New York sent us some weird shit.
Bougie ass kid who has Blu-rays.
Is this a frisbee?
Yeah, but I would send it out, and then along with like a printout of a picture of me and like my accomplishments through my young career thus far. But it was a lot of legwork, man. I would go to showcases almost every weekend.
Yep.
Kentucky, Florida, upstate New York, New Hampshire, bro. Like anywhere and everywhere there was a showcase, I'm there. Did I ever get an offer? No.
Yep.
Ironically, the one school that gave me an offer that I ended up accepting just so happened to be a game that I pitched really fucking good at. And I was a dog shit college pitcher. Like I should have been hitting, but that's not the point. My point being is like, what's the process these kids have to do? Is it more showcase based? Do they have to kind of showcase themselves? Is it game based? Like how does it go?
It is. I mean, I graduated high school in 2002, and then there were 3. Like club lacrosse wasn't really a thing yet.
Yeah.
So high schools would go and travel around, and there was Champ Camp, which was a big, massive tournament where all the top teams in the country would just like compete against each other for a weekend in Maryland. There was Top 205, which was an invite-only thing, and then there was like Elite 800 or whatever the hell it was called in Philly. So if you were a college coach back then, you were recruiting kids that just finished their junior year.
Yeah.
So you would go and you could talk to them, watch them, evaluate them, give them calls, whatever. And I started getting these letters after I went to 205, and it's like I made the All-Star game at 205, made the All-Star game at Champ Camp. You did that, you were going to college. Now 205 was sick because college coaches were coaching you, and then after the end of the weekend, they would have coaches night. So all the coaches would sit here, they'd have their little tables and their pamphlets, and they'd be like, "This is why you should come to Virginia." And like you're like, "Oh, cool, okay." Now in 2022, thinking about that is nuts.
Yeah. Oh, that's not
Right?
allowed.
Like imagine like Nick
You're
Saban
ineligible.
like sitting
Yeah.
there being like, "This is why I think you'd be good at
Oh
Alabama."
my God,
Like
yeah.
what?
Yeah.
So, back then you had a really good idea of what you were getting into when you were picking a school. Because after you would talk to these coaches, you would set up to 5 official visits. You'd go for a weekend. You would be way in over your head as a high school kid, partying with college kids.
Yeah.
That was
Their
the
job
worst.
was to pour beer down your mouth and
God.
put you in front of college girls and say, "This is what you get if you come here. Like
Yeah.
you're going to party with these people,"
Yeah.
and then you make a decision.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
it's we live in a completely different universe. So there was up until a few years ago, I think the 2020 class was the last class that at the beginning of the spring, 8th graders were getting recruited in lacrosse.
Wow.
So you had dads the fall before their freshman year freaking out because their kid doesn't know what college he's going. He hasn't committed to a college yet. So you'd have like Princeton, Yale, and all these be like, we're not allowed to. We can't recruit a kid who hasn't taken his SATs yet. Like, what the hell's going on? It was a nightmare. Halfway through that summer or that school year, they decided, the coaches, that we were going to change the rule. Nobody can contact you till September 1 of your junior year. Thank God, because that was the worst time of my life dealing with that shit. Because kids would commit, like, "Oh, okay, I'm going to High Point." "Oh, you committed, okay, as an 8th grader." "Well, you got better." And all of a sudden, Duke's calling. Like 99% of those kids would decommit and recommit. It was a mess.
So yeah.
So because you're an 8th grader.
It's really not a good look either. So
Well, the colleges at the time were probably trying to get the kids early.
Yeah,
assuming
and
they're gonna
even
get
the
better.
colleges hated it. They were like Coach Danowski
terrible.
at Duke's like, "I don't want to recruit an 8th grader. This is stupid." Like, the
It's
kid
so
doesn't even
stupid.
know what math class he belongs in his freshman year of high school. He doesn't even know where he's going to place in high school. How the hell?
Sure.
So anyway, they made that rule. So now, if we're talking about like say this day and age, recruiting wise, because we have 25 coaches with Faceoff Academy, our job is to take our local kids, train them as much as we can, and then the year that they're a sophomore. So I'm now starting with the 2025 class. I am creating a training team. So every week I get to know the kids. I get to know the families. I get to know what kind of schools, not that they're just interested in, but what I think
Is
that they
possible.
would look. Yeah, because
Yeah.
every single kid's going to be like, "I want to go to Duke, Syracuse, and Virginia, and
Yeah.
Princeton." And you're like, "All right, man, look, you have a 3.0. You're not going to Princeton." Okay.
Let's talk turkey.
Yeah. or you have a kid who might be a little bit of a sensitive kid, but he needs a little bit more attention. You're like, "You shouldn't go to a Big Ten school." Like that kind of. So it gives you a year to really get to know these kids and their families. Yeah. And then we train them up. We get them prepared. When they're sophomores this fall, they should go out and they should try to compete in some type of recruiting event. And I don't mean they're recruiting the kids, but something that creates a big splash. So we try to get them in some of the more notable events. And we say, look, this is where you start to build your reputation. So that when you are sending these letters out next summer, the coaches say, oh yeah, I heard of you. Like, that's what you want. So you get on the books there. We have a national showcase. So every December, the Faceoff Academy has 250 kids from the best Faceoff guys in the country from 7th grade to 12th grade. They come to Sportica, New Jersey, and they compete for a day. And at that point is where you can really, like, if you get into, like, say, the Elite Eight as a 2025, everyone's going to know who you are. So kids, that class always fills up quick, those sophomores. Then you go into the spring. Now, the spring of your sophomore year of high school, you should have a templated letter prepared that says, this is who I am. I'm interested in your school one day. This is the team I play for. Here are my highlights from my fall ball. And then here is my spring high school schedule. So you send that out to your schools. And then I always tell them, always have my contact info. So coaches, if they want to beat around the bush and find out, like, kick the tires on a kid, just reach out to me because you're not allowed to talk to the kid. Then you send that exact same letter, but you send them your spring highlights right before the summer starts. And here's my summer schedule. Go through the summer.
Almost like updating them every time you get to a season. Yeah.
Because, people are like, oh, this coach, he didn't get back to me. This coach, his job is not to recruit sophomores. His job is to figure out practice schedule because they just lost by 2 to North Carolina yesterday, and they have a team in front of them. Yeah. Oh, by the way, they have a family at home. Yeah. And they're also not just recruiting your position. They're recruiting every position.
Yeah.
They have to deal with the transfer portal, all that shit. So you have to update them as you go. And then once the summer hits, as they go through the summer, that's when I start getting the text messages. Who are your top guys? Like, what guys would be good for us? And I create my tiers. So all of our coaches, all the FOA coaches, our job is to create our tiers of kids in each region. And then at the end of the summer, in August, we call the I-95 Cup. So we have a cup series. We have a Pacific Cup, Southern Cup, Midwest Cup, East Cup, I-95 we call it. And we do a team-based face-off competitions. So those kids now are going head-to-head right in front of the coaches, and it's all rising juniors. So you essentially have like the top 70 rising juniors going against each other. So we can compare apples to apples. After that, picture gets real clear. Yeah. And then it's just easy telling which coach belongs to which kid and which kid should go to where.
But you've got to narrow it from before that to get down to that.
Because right now, I barely know the 25s. Like, I know them kind of, but I got to get to know them real well. Because if Coach Lars Tiffany from Virginia calls me, which kid, and I give him a kid that doesn't fit the mold, doesn't work out, whatever, he's never going to call me again. So I just screwed it up for all the kids after that. So, so that's, the recruiting now is you have to update. And then September 1 is crazy. September 1, every kid can't wait to post what school he's going to on Instagram.
It's like a thing.
Dude, it's a nightmare because everyone's like, September 1, I'm going to figure out what school I go to. No. That's the first day they can say hi to you. They're going to recruit you for the next 6 months.
You have time.
And all they do is they just sit there and refresh their Instagram over and over and over again and text their friends, did anybody call you? Did anybody call you? So it's a nightmare. Like, we have 4 out of the 6 kids that were on my I-95 Cup team this year. Princeton, Cornell, North Carolina, and Brown. Four of those kids, those are the schools they committed to. It's great when I get those phone calls from those kids, but then I immediately get 25 text messages from other kids' dads going, why does my kid went 6 for 7 against him in the Billy Johnson tournament in Missouri 6 years ago. You're like, dude, whatever, man. Like, so you're trying to help everybody.
That's hard because you want to help everybody, but you can't make the performance of it is what it is. Yeah.
And the biggest thing is the body of work. So like you said, you had one good game, but the coach happened to be sitting on that field at that exact time. Exactly. These kids have to understand that these coaches with the face-off position don't understand what they're looking at. Most coaches will tell you, I have no idea how to coach face-offs because it's such a niche. So they lean on us very heavily, but they're sitting there going, I just happen to be at the third quarter of this random tournament in Maryland on the day that this kid beat up on the kid we thought we wanted. He went 6 for 6 against him, and we're like, wow, okay, we want this kid now.
Right.
That kid could have gone on and got he could have gotten his shit kicked in the next day.
Yeah.
But they didn't see it. Yeah. So, and then these coaches, they all sit in their lawn chairs and it's whisper down the lane. One top tier coach mutters a few names, everybody follows suit, and then everybody from Jacksonville to Maryland are all calling the same 5 or 6 kids.
Yeah.
And then when they don't get them, then we get to this position where the top tier of kids that everybody liked are gone. They're committed. Now we're getting the phone calls again because everyone's preparing to watch fall ball. And that's where I tell the guys, I'm like, you can only focus on what you can correct. I can't control if Penn State's going to call me today. But I can control that I know I wasn't good against this particular move all summer, and it exposed me. I can train to be great at that move. That way, this fall, if Penn State watches me, I can seal the deal.
100%.
And that's the messaging.
Improvement to cover yourself for the body of work.
Yes.
Like you can suck or lose in a specific instance, but if you can improve that before, you can still get recruited.
And that goes back to what Nick had said before. It's like, okay, you're getting better. Now you want to play in college. You are telling me at this point in the story that you want to play in college. This is definitively where I'm going to stop coddling you. And I'm going to be giving you the information you need, not the information you want to hear. I want to go play at Ohio State. You have not done what I told you to do.
Yeah.
So you haven't proven you're good enough to play at Ohio State. If you're willing to listen to me, I will move mountains to get you there. But if you're going to keep not listening to me, dude, there's 50 other kids that I can help get to Ohio State.
Yeah.
So
help yourself.
yes,
help
dude,
me help you.
I'm very big on and this is, I keep my circle tight, whether it's friends, family, whatever. I will do anything for the people that are willing to help themselves.
Yeah.
But I give a kid like 1 or 2 strikes. If you don't listen to me, dude, I don't need to spend that because we talked about, man, like this is an emotional investment for me.
100%.
I get that it's a transactional relationship for the kids and the parents most of the time. We love Greg. He's our best friend. My kid's committed. I'll talk to you later. I get that. Totally fine.
Sure.
But in the meantime, it is an emotional investment for me. And I've got other things in my life too. So if your kid is only going to listen to me half the time, then he's getting half my effort. The kid who is going to do anything to be great, dude, I'll do anything for you.
And that kid's got the best shot.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Do you ever have you ever had an experience where a kid surprised you, where he's like, it's like the kid that comes to you with the lofty goal, and then you're like, yeah, the talent's really not there, and you're like, oh shit, he really.
I can say that I'm not good at a lot of things in life. One of the things I'm very good at is judging character, judging talent. Mm-hmm. I can't always get a beat on your work ethic like the first time I meet you. But a lot of what I put stock in is Nick comes to my face-off clinic for the first time. And he's winning face-offs, but I know for a fact that if I tweak your stance and you do it the way that I tell you to do it, long term, with your talent, you could go anywhere. What you do after I make that adjustment defines what I'm going to do for you pretty much for the rest of our relationship. I have a kid, Parker Hoffman, who just committed to UNC. It was his dream school. Parker Hoffman is an insane talent, stuff you can't teach. Freak athlete, super fast on the whistle. He had a very successful career so far in high school. First time he came to me, I said, look, I know you're having success doing this, but I promise you, if you do this, it'll take away some of the holes in your game. Didn't even blink. Immediately started correcting it. Immediately started coming in and training. Even when I did clinics where, most of the kids were not up to his level, but he would easily be better than them. He came in because he wanted to get better. Mm-hmm. And he was lights out this summer. Sealed the deal. Now he's going to his dream school. That's the kind of kid I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. And if I have to tell you a bunch of times and I have to convince you why beating an 8th grader the way you're doing it right now is not the top of the mountain, then okay. Unfortunately, you're going to have to learn the hard way that I'm right. Because I'm not right about anything else. Like I can't teach you how to do it. I don't know anything about insurance, stocks, cars, nothing. Yeah. Face-offs, strength training, that's my jam. Yeah. And that's where I stay in my lane. Great. So just listen to me on those 2 things, man. Yeah.
No, that's a great way to put it. Like having people that listen and respond with action, those are the people that are going to put the work in. Yeah. And even as young athletes, and those are the kids that go somewhere.
Yeah, coachability, man. Like you can't get my sensei when I did karate, Sensei Jamal Benini used to say this. You don't learn anything talking. You only learn when you're listening. And if you believe you have all the answers, then you're done. Like even me, I consider myself an expert in face-offs. I'm constantly trying to learn from the kids I coach. Why are you doing it that way? Well, I tried it with this, and maybe the kid has something. Maybe there's something. Maybe there's a new head that just came out, and because he's doing it that way, it works with that head. Like I'm always trying to learn.
Sure.
If I'm trying to learn, this 8th grader better be trying to learn. That's the way I look at it. Don't let me try to outwork you on learning. I already ran my race.
Yeah.
Sure. So
Dude, it's a great message.
Yeah. That's a great way to end it too.
Dude, thank you again for coming on, man. This was educational for me from lacrosse, but I think we touched on some excellent, ideologies on how people should approach it, whether you're athlete, crossing over to business in the regular world. But thanks for coming on. And thanks for being on the team, man.
Yeah,
dude, this is awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. This is great.
That's right, folks. Peace out.
Push it to the limit, I can't go no more.